guys are acting as kind of a sort of a retraining force within Sun in some way.
Protagonists is my favorite word, but yeah.
So how do you guys mentor, engineering at MySQL and Sun? I mean, is there any formal process where you're teaching open source, or is it just by who you are?
Actually, we are teaching Sun in two things. First, how does a virtual organization of developers really work? And that Sun is really interested to do that, because they're trying to do things more virtual and understanding how to get things, create something where developers will strive and want to be, even when they're not in contact with any human beings. Mm-hmm. And that has started to work out really good.
Yeah, right. So MySQL was fairly unique as a company in being really, really virtual. You had a lot of people all over the world who work from their homes, like Brian. Yeah. And of course, you'll know that you've won when they all get big Sun machines, right? Or will you have won when they don't need big Sun machines because they're all in the cloud?
Well, I think that's actually the key there, is that the long term, I don't think anybody needs anything more than probably a laptop and an internet connection at this point to do software development.
But the other part is that there's lots of people of the engineers who really believe in open source, and they are really happy that Sun is opening up. On the tech meeting where we were, there was people who said that it's really for true, so no, it's really going to happen. Mm-hmm. And they are seeing us as an enabler for things going forward. Mm-hmm. That's really nice. I mean, lots of enthusiastic people. That's the place to be.
So, in terms of you guys actually have your own projects sort of independent of the main MySQL tree going forward. You're working on Maria and the new storage engine. Brian, you recently announced Drizzle, sort of radical rethinking, not really forking MySQL. What kind of support do you have inside Sun for those projects?
My boss's response to Drizzle was, when I first explained to him a couple of months ago, and I said, this is what I'm doing, he paused for a second, and he goes, well, so what it is, it's a different, you're going after an entirely different market area and an entirely different niche within the ecosystem. And he got that immediately. And as I started telling that same story within the labs organization and to the different CTOs and chief technologists, people got that immediately. And then it wasn't so much hey, let's go and, there's a certain direction that the MySQL code base has been heading in for quite some time now with 5.0 and 5.1. And those features have a very, there's a place and a time for those features in one domain, or in actually many domains. But there's domain that is...
Specifically, features added to support enterprise.
Enterprise, what do we see, like Enterprise 2.0 replacements for places where they don't need actually an Oracle, or they need something that they're designing a new application around, where they'll need something like partitioning, or they'll need some other piece that makes up 5.0, 5.1. But there is a core set of environments where none of those features are valuable, and all they do is they extend the product and make it actually vulnerable to bugs that really don't need to be there in the first place. Part of what actually made me start on Drizzle was a conversation I was having with Rackspace CTO. There's a project I had started formulating a number of months ago, which is called Pandora's DB. And it is kind of basically taking a Unix concept of building a cloud database, but not trying to write everything from scratch, but instead taking out components that exist in open source to build up a database. So for instance, the optimizer you would see is actually a workman system called Gearman. So Gearman is the piece that's handling that. I needed a component for being able to...
Brad Fitzpatrick.
Yep,
right.
Another dang good thing from Brad.
Yeah, Brad is sort of one of the, he's sort of sung these days, but kind of really one of the amazing forces in the modern open source movement. Just released more pieces of software that keep cropping up.
Yeah, I saw his Perl on Google Apps Engine, which suddenly moves Google Apps Engine even further down.